Have you ever hit a roadblock in your life that felt impossible to move past? What if I told you that obstacle actually might be the thing that God uses to propel you forward? There's an excellent book called The Obstacle is the Way that lays out 3 powerful principles for handling the obstacles in our life. The principles are based on 3 things: perception, action, and will. And as I read this book, I couldn't help but think how these things line up with a lot of stories throughout the Bible. The first principle is perception, or how we view what's right in front of us. It made me think about Joseph. His brothers sold him into slavery. He was falsely accused of sleeping with Potiphar's wife, and he was thrown into prison. He could have seen himself as broken or forgotten, but instead he trusted that God was still writing his story. Later, Joseph says something very powerful. It's one of my favorite verses in Scripture. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph was only 17 when he was sold into slavery, a mere teenager, and he was 30 when he was made second in command of Egypt. So there were 13 years between the pit and the palace. That's a long time to wait. But so much of how we handle life comes down to how we see the situations that we're in, and if we're willing to wait on God's timing. When we believe that God can bring good even in the darkest situation, our perception changes, and that changes everything. But once your perspective shifts, what do you do next? That brings us to the second principle, action, or what I like to call stepping out in faith. David faced Goliath while everyone else in Israel's army froze in fear. He didn't wait for the perfect conditions or fancy weapons. He simply picked up what he had, a sling and a few stones, and he stepped forward trusting God with the outcome. Sometimes the way through the obstacle is simply stepping forward in faith. You don't need the whole plan. You just need to move forward with what you've got and let God handle the rest. But what happens when that obstacle doesn't go away? That's where the third principle comes in. Will, or the resolve to keep going. I think about the Apostle Paul. He had what he called a thorn in the flesh. He begged God to remove it, but God said, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." Paul didn't quit just because he had an obstacle. He endured, and he discovered that depending on God gave him the strength he needed to keep going. Now, some people will ask, are all obstacles from God? I believe the answer is no. I don't believe that everything that happens in this world is God's will. If I haul off and smack someone in the face, it's not God's will that I hurt that person. God is not the author of evil or harm. But here's the beautiful part. God can take even the worst situation, even our mistakes, and use them for good. That slap could spark a conversation that leads to forgiveness and healing, and maybe even restoration that never would have happened otherwise. Romans 8:28 reminds us, we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. Notice it doesn't say all things are good. It says that God can work in all things for the good. Let me share a personal story about one of the first times I ordered furniture online. I decided to order from Wayfair. I got a couch and it arrived with a pencil mark on the cushion. My first thought was, ugh, what a hassle. So I called them and asked if they could just send me a new cushion cover. This was kind of a make it or break it moment for Wayfair because I had never ordered from them before and I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. They could have made it hard and then I probably never would have ordered from them again. But instead, they said, you know what? We're going to send you a brand new couch. I was like, I don't need a brand new couch. I just need a new cushion cover. It's just a pencil mark. And they said, no, we want to send you a new couch for your trouble. And by the way, keep the old couch. What? I got 2 couches for the price of 1. That was a make it or break it moment for Wayfair. If they handled it poorly, I probably never would have ordered from them again. But instead, they used that obstacle to gain a loyal customer for life. I've gone online with rave reviews and told everyone I know how amazing they are. That tiny obstacle, a pencil mark, became the very thing that cemented my loyalty to Wayfair. And honestly, that's how God often works. What looks like a flaw or frustration can turn into something that deepens trust and builds relationships. So whether you're facing betrayal like Joseph, a giant in your life like David, or a thorn in your flesh like Paul, or even just a pencil mark on a cushion, remember this: the obstacle isn't the end of your story. With God, the obstacle can be the way to grow, the way to trust, and the way to see His goodness in your life. Thanks for listening today. If this encouraged you, please share with a friend and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember, with God, nothing is wasted.